My clock was too fast. So as we are waiting for it to go live, everybody tell us where you are coming in from. And even if you've done it in the past ones, please do it again. And hello, Linda.
You better not move your head. Don't. Hello, Matthew. Happy Thursday.
Yes. Absolutely. It's been so this is going to be a fun one, everybody, because I'm going to give a little context background. So Linda has been, she's been kicking butt, taking names, and really helping us out a lot. And yes, Greg, you are definitely from outer space. She has been putting together this presentation for us, like PowerPoint, that we can go through and take the questions and have fun with it. So she got this cool idea that she would stage this stuff inside of QuickBooks today. And while staging it in QuickBooks, she decided she would go in and be smart and try to put some funny stuff of my name in there and so forth.
How do you know
But
it
for
was me?
some reason, I managed to catch it before she got to do it. So I went in and I also decided that I was going to change, hoping that she wouldn't see it, change it to different funny names under her name. So I actually don't know where we ended up with this. So one of us is going to have fun with it, right?
Yeah.
But I did. So, as usual, our goal today, we've got a whole bunch of different questions we're going to kind of dive into and see if we can answer them. These are questions that came from the group, as well as a YouTube channel and so forth. Right, Linda? Is that
That's
correct?
correct.
Cool. Anything you want to add before we do the whole share the screen thing?
Yeah, I had a question before you started here. Since Zoom did 50,000 updates, every time I work with a client, I have to click, I forget, and I go share your screen. And then they go, oh, it says I need permission. So there used to always be on as a setting. And now I don't know if is there a global setting that I could actually pick up and save on the settings, or?
Yeah, so most of the settings like this type of stuff is actually on the back end. You have to go to zoom.us, go in there and change settings at that point.
I
And
looked in
that's
there.
probably the global setting. So,
Okay, well, I'll show you after, but
all right.
okay,
We can
go
do
for
an
it.
elder tech session later.
Elder Tech, right? I knew that was coming. By the way, he hashtags Elder Text me.
So, starting off here, we will start with our first question that we've got. And I'm going to actually give control also to Linda. And so our first question we're going to go through, and everybody, please feel free to also ask more questions as we're going through all this stuff, and we will get to those also. So first one here, you ready for it, Linda?
Yeah.
Okay. If my ex-client asks for his QB file, I know the stock answer has always been to give him the file. However, he hasn't paid me, and I'm really interested in whether anyone here has actually gone to court about this and has gotten a legal ruling that they wouldn't mind sharing. I don't have any legal rulings on it. Do you know of any specifically, Linda?
You know, I didn't know if it was desktop, but I kind of thought it was a desktop file. And this is an age-old question that's been around for a very long time, where you do all the work on your own desktop file and you actually have the data file and you would give it to them. I've always been of the mindset that you don't keep a file from a client, but it can be a sticky point if you're getting paid after the fact, that you know, hey, you worked on it and you want to get paid. I don't know the client circumstances. There's always two sides of the story, but I'm kind of going with, I think I kind of know the person that wrote the question. So she seems really smart and sweet and very like a good person to go to. So I'm kind of going to give it to the client here, but this happens. And I had a really interesting conversation with an Intuit employee on one of my meetings with them. And we were talking about the steps that they have to go through. This is a QuickBooks Online file, because they do actually have to go to court if you have master admin to prove you own it. And they're trying to get some kind of a way to do that, but it can go on for months and you don't have your data file. So my opinion, I would not take a client ever to court, because that's bad juju and it will follow you around. I hold my head up high, learn lesson learned, and go. I would probably take it to the point where I would go to, you know, I start to get prepaid. And that is one of the things. I mean, I've been burned over the years, and I've had the same thing happen to me a couple of times, more probably than if I went back and actually counted, probably more than that. And you learn your lesson and try to not leave with your heart, because sometimes we do that. We feel bad and we do it, and we figure they're going to pay us, and then they flat out don't. But I don't know. What do you think?
Um, so I like the concept of switching over, of course, to trying to get prepaid, or at the minimum, trying to do like a progress billing concept.
Mhm.
So, if you're not going to get paid for the whole thing ahead of time, if it's a big job, you should definitely do like phased billing. So it's fair to both parties, because otherwise you're going to be sticking all of your time out into a project like this that you need to recuperate off of. Now, what we used to do previously is if we were doing like a full rebuild, we would do a rebuild in the company file where we had it. And that way we didn't, our concern was always that somebody would take the basic information they need for tax, go run in the reports and go run and do it, and then just take off on us.
Mhm.
Fortunately, we haven't had that type of a concern. We have contracts signed with them, and you just have to really kind of stress you need to make sure they understand it's going to cost them more money than it's worth to do that.
Mhm.
But if they really
Yeah.
want it back, I'd give them, this is my accountant hat off advice, because it
Mhm.
actually, if you're a CPA, this is a whole different answer. If you're a
Different.
bookkeeper, it's,
Yes.
different deal there. I would play the game of not a problem. Would you, so I can get you your company file back that's empty. If, or if you prefer the one that has the information done on it, we can arrange those payments that you owe me.
Oh, you could do if they paid up to a certain point, because if you're backing up, like I backed up every time I was in a client file, restore it back for when they last paid in full and give them back that file. You could do that. That's kind of sneaky, but it's a doable thing. I liked what Beth Melcher said though, because she said, meet up and meet them and say, hey, you owe me this, so here's this. But I mean, who wants to face anybody? You can't nowadays anyway. So yeah, I think that I would actually do the backup thing. I kind of like that idea, but I just don't think it's not worth the effort. And sometimes bad things, I always try to think about if I did something like that to a client, they could go on to social media and like bad reviews. That's the other thing I always worry about. So I think it's just hold your head high, lesson learned, and move on.
Cool. So hopefully that gave some guidance advice. We'll kind of move on to the next one here, which is going to get us into QuickBooks itself also.
Yes.
Actually, real quickly, Greg was adding on to that. If I sense a relationship is heading south, I pull the amen.
Yeah.
I am a big fan. So bank rules is something I've always talked about as proprietary information. Absolutely. I'm glad that you can now delete them from a company file, because you couldn't before. So I literally created a little macro widget that would just go and keep pushing the button to delete it for me, because that's a lot of the secret sauce, right? If we're automating all of that, that's tools for us. So I personally agree with that completely.
I disagree.
Um, I know most people do. Um, so moving on to the next one though,
Which, yeah. Could someone please help me with unapplied cash payments? Have the P&L for the fiscal year July to June, and now we have 1520 in unapplied. But as far as we're concerned, we are done for the year, and I feel like this shouldn't have anything in it. This is something that you run into, calendar year. It's just something I look at reports all year long in accrual. Then you get to the tax time and you flip it over, and I'm like, oh, what's this? And it's usually an invoice and a payment, and the dates are reversed, and yeah. How do you fix it?
So this is one that you got all set up, I believe, right?
There should be one in there, yeah. I only put one. You want me to grab it for you?
I thought, well, you did the hard work of putting the stuff together, so I thought I would let you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's right in here. If we do this year, I think this year, because there's not a lot of stuff in here. This year, where'd it go?
Up to the top.
But yes.
To the top. You
This year.
just were on it.
Right. Here we go. It's touchy. It should have been there. I'll just do all dates, because I know there's
unapplied, go to cash basis.
Maybe. Oh, cash basis. That's why it's not showing. There we
go.
So
what we're talking about there is the unapplied cash payments. Was this undeposited funds question or unapplied cash payment?
No, unapplied cash payment income, which was here. I don't remember what I thought I had in this year, but apparently not. Maybe last year. It would be under cash basis, right?
Yeah.
I think it was here for last year. So I just had the wrong basis on. So there you go. Boom.
All right. So what this has to do with is cash basis versus accrual basis. With unapplied cash payments, what generally causes this is when you have an invoice that actually has a date after the payment inside the system. What happens then is even if you've applied that payment, it doesn't recognize the fact it was that it was connected to something because cash basis, it's all recognized the date the money comes in. So in that type of scenario, what you need to do is usually you come in, take a look at these, and we can see payments 117, invoice 118. So if I was to come into this, actually made an assumption, well, yeah, it's the only invoice. So if
Mhm.
we come into here, now, obviously, if this is going to change you into a different fiscal period, you need to pay attention to that as well. Okay. Um, in this scenario, it's not going to harm us that this is set up. It's usually almost always just an accident, but you would come in, have 116, be able to save this, and we applied, boom, boom, boom. Now, if we come back out of here, go back to our report here and
And there's still one in
refresh.
there because it's a payment without an invoice, which is the
Ah,
other scenario that can happen, right? Like with my
absolutely.
tenants, we do invoicing and every month they said that we want to do it 3 days before. So we send the invoice 3 days before and then they pay it and it's not even due. It's dated for the next month. So they're paying it and then you have the same thing. What I would do is I will do at the year end, I do a journal entry, move it up into prepayment because it is a prepayment. And then I reverse it on January 1st so that it'll all tie back and it shows, I don't want to see negative AR. Well, in this case, it wouldn't be negative AR because it's cash basis, but I just don't want to see that on my records. I don't want to see the unapplied cash payment income account.
So Michelle, I see your comment saying that I changed the invoice date and it went away.
Mhm.
Um, Part of that, what it was, and actually this one actually has another invoice that's sitting here that's unpaid, so it'll be kind of the same concept, I believe.
It's,
For the heck of it, to try to show it again, I'm going to go in here. I'm going to change this back forward to 18, just to make sure we're ahead, right?
mhm.
Da, da, da. Send that to myself. Boom. So we're going to go out, back to reports. Okay. So refresh. So now we should actually see both pieces in here, right, Linda?
That one, I think, that invoice is paid.
So we had a payment that was showing up here.
Mhm.
Um,
Does the payment have an invoice?
it popped up with something right
Okay, I
away
didn't know
that
if
you
somebody
could.
deleted the invoice or maybe the invoice, well, there's no invoice. So it does have an invoice. Is it the deposit date? It's deposited, but oh yeah, there's the invoice. Is it connected? No,
Deposit was
it's not
$50.
applied. It's not applied. Apply it.
Correct. So I guess I was trying to figure out why that invoice was not showing up on that list because nothing was. Oh, I know why. Because actually, because I
That's it.
have to apply it. Hey
Mhm.
guys. So this is the other part. If you don't have it applied, boom, we'll go into here, save and close. Now it's applied, but this is still going to have the same problem now. There we
Mhm.
go. Because of that date
The
issue.
invoice.
So see,
Mhm.
this is why we do it live. It's always,
Mhm.
we all make the same kind of challenges. So to do that again a little bit slower, what we did, the true challenge is the fact our invoice is 118 versus 117, okay? If I go to accrual basis on the same thing, it's going to disappear because accrual basis, it doesn't exist. Cash, that's accounts payable, accounts receivable. Cash basis, accounts payable, accounts receivable, they don't exist.
Mhm.
So if I come to my invoice and I go to the invoice because most likely the payment came through the bank feed, which means that's a very finite date. And it almost always is a situation somebody forgot to put an invoice in, so we can look at it this way. Change this back to 117. So at least the day of the actual payment or the day before. And once I save and close this, it's telling me that I made a change. Yes. Boom. Now it's gone.
Gone.
So this happens a lot if you import stuff too.
Mhm.
Um, you never like if you're doing a batch import of invoice data, everything else. I always recommend turning off the automatically apply payments and turn off the auto credits, all that stuff, all the automation. Turn it off. It's just going to cause you more of a headache itself. Um, yep. So feels good about that one.
Yep. Hopefully
Okay.
Michelle does.
So our next one here is I've been doing some research for a while and can't find anything on the following subject. How do I record the settlement checks from insurance companies at the PI law firm? Some of the money are for disbursements to the client's doctor bills, court fees, and other reimbursement expenses. Only a portion of these funds are attorney's fees, which is income. It is a very common practice, but for some reason I couldn't find anything how to do that correctly. Can anybody help me with these step-by-step instructions? Fortunately, we have the law firm specialist Linda here.
I can tell you that this one stretched my brain because I use an app and I don't do this manual process. So we'll take our client, we'll go here.
Yep.
And I actually did this because it's PI. Usually you're dealing with the insurance companies. A lot of the PI attorneys use it with multiple insurance companies. And I made it a sub account because the check will come in through the parent. So I did it under Nationwide. You're just waiting at you. And then of course somebody renamed some of my accounts. And I think that they just did it wrong. So let me just edit it and fix it.
Hold on one second here.
So don't take the remote away. There we go. Now it's all better.
Actually, hold on one second. Seriously. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, you seriously? Okay. So you played and did that too. Nice. Okay. So anyway. I literally, I have to say, a backstory, I was just having a bad day all day long from like the minute I got up, and I happened to be in the file, just looking at everything, making sure everything was all right on here. So when we did this, and I happened to come in here and I saw that I was a gator, and I was like, I'm going to kill him. Then I tried to fix it, and then he went back in and changed it. I'm like, what do you have? Like an alert on the audit log? Probably.
You know, guys, you got to have fun, right? I mean,
Then my stomach hurt from laughing so hard.
Yeah.
So, okay, so any advanced costs, because that's the first thing that starts to come in for an attorney, any advanced costs are going to be put in the advanced client cost category. So it's a balance sheet account, it's an asset. So when you come into, well, I actually created a report. So as you start to tag the expenses, and this will be the fastest way to come in here so we can get on to other questions here, but I made a custom report that is...
Up on the trust report there?
No, there was two reports. Where'd my advanced client cost one?
Probably didn't share it with me is why.
Oh, crap. Okay. So anyway, advanced client cost, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come to the balance sheet and I can show you how to do this. So yeah, I probably didn't share because we're on yours. So to get the advanced client costs, I'm just going to come down into, just find it here, hopefully.
And as you're doing that, I'm going to quickly remind everybody, this is a fake company file that we do a lot of testing in. So if the financials don't make sense, it's because it's a fake company file we do a lot of testing in.
I changed this setting too because it says last year. All right, so it's this year.
That's actually, so a little tip on that. As individual users under accountant, we can set those report tools and it stays static to that, which is probably why.
I do. I use that sticky and just do it under report options. So here's my advanced client costs. And because it's a PI firm and sometimes you win a case, sometimes you don't, I made the master category and then I made a couple of subs. So that way if you lose the case and you reconcile this account every month, just like you reconcile other accounts, because you want to make sure that if you lost a case, the case is closed and the law firm paid these fees, then those fees end up being turned into expenses. You have to move them down to the expense line. So this way it'll help you to move them into if you do the detail.
So can I slow you down for 1 second here just to make sure? So what I heard there was, again, you're tracking all of this stuff coming in and it all becomes dependent on whether you win the case or not.
Yeah. PI,
and this is if you're doing, I'm assuming PI is going to be more on contingency is why? Is that part of the reason?
Contingency, yeah, it's contingency.
Okay.
So you would go in here and just edit, when you enter the check, you're going to make sure that you apply it to the matter and you're going to create a trust account, but this is your customer. So you're going to have a customer, Matthew, my pain in the ass right here. And you're going to put this in here. And you're going to apply it towards this. So it's going to sit up in the balance sheet until the matter is closed. In a good day, you win the case. The client gets 2/3, the law firm gets the third, and they also deduct all those fees off first. So the fees come off first, and then whatever left over gets divvied up. So you want to track that here, and you track it up in the balance sheet because it's not an expense until the matter closed. And obviously, it depends. You just have to track it this way. Then you move it down into the balance sheet if you lost the case. So you want to track it there. And then So those are the fees. Now you win the case, you get the settlement check. So the only way you can do it, this is why I like using the app, because the app makes this just so less clunky, and so there's so many things. I memorized
You talk about lien law?
any app. Yeah, any of the apps that work for law firms, they'll track,
Well,
you track your trust account.
So if you want to know about a good app, Linda, obviously she does a lot with lien law. It's a great application that really kicks butt. It's your number one recommendation, right? For law
Yeah,
firms?
it's the one I like the best.
Okay.
So I actually created the journal entry to save time. And then you can see here, it's still on the, did you just do that? Or is that just because I didn't change it? Because
No,
I changed the name.
I actually updated the memorized transaction.
So it's in here, but say what I would do is I would put the settlement check in. So now you're going to deposit this into trust. Yes. So you're going to deposit the check into trust. So we won $15,000. Now I have to put it towards the trust liability account, because that's where it's going to be held at your offset. Plus we've got Judge Gator bribe. So none of this is going to all tie back in the end, but you can see here that this is the legal fee income, but you have to deduct the cost. So we won 15,000. We had $375 that were in advanced client costs for the court fees. And then we had $4,500 in medical fees for the Gator attack bill. So those things have to go to against the liability too. So think of the liability. I think the best analogy for a liability account for when you're doing trust accounting is it's like the client's little mini checkbook. So you're going to put the money in, you're going to pull the fees down, which is what you're doing here. And then you're going to pull them out of the advanced client cost account. And then you're going to start to tally it back. When you're all done, you're going to see that you're going to need to make a check. And obviously I have to change all of these to this one to have it work exactly right. But you're going to, and this is what I'm talking about. I smell my pillows. Too much.
So an easier way real quickly, Linda, is, may I show you one thing?
Go ahead.
Click into here, Control A, Control C, come into here, boom, Control V, boom.
Yeah, it's not any set
Start at the bottom, actually, makes it easier.
It's easier since it's your computer too. I have like a hesitation in my clicking. Oh, that's it. You got it. Oops. You got them all.
There you go.
Okay, so then we're going to enter that. And then now we have to pay. We have to pay the attorney, you're going to pay the law firm, and you're going to pay the client out the difference. So the settlement to the client, I just saved it as a template. So this will save some time, and then you just use it. And then in this case, the client is going to get $67.50 for the 2/3 that's left over. And I would have to put in, this one.
And
so it's tagged.
Pay at the top, right? Do you have to have a payee at the top?
Yep. It would put it towards you, which I don't even know if it's still there. There we go. It would go to this person with my name on it. Oh, look at that. We get to split the check.
Nice.
That's because I made sure. And then obviously to be printed, and then you would pay the law firm, right? The law firm's going to get its money. So this one should be pretty self-explanatory. I don't know if it's on the same thing. So yeah, so then you would go back. Now I want to check my trust account to make sure that the liability balance, and that's where I did make a report to check to make sure that the balance is correct. And all I did here in the trust account report, which is very much like the other one that I showed, is that you're going to see the money coming in and the money going out. And it probably, I don't even see it here. Is that because it's today? It's because it's today. So yeah, I just did all the transactions as of today, and it might be because we messed around with the stuff. Yeah, it's because we messed around with the stuff, but it should be zero. So you're going to be able to see. There's a couple journal entries in there. So we want to you want to see the total money coming in, the advanced client costs coming out, and the checks. It looked beautiful yesterday before you messed around with my names. And all I did here was to make the trust report. Was I went to the balance sheet, grabbed the trust liability account, put the data should be all dates, and then you can set it so that it takes off the zeros, and then just group it by the customer. So you add it in there. So that's kind of where you want to go as far as setting up that account. And I know this is going through it pretty fast, and then you just
Hector speed. Just Hector speed, but that's okay.
Yeah. I know Hector speed, but it's a lot of steps. That's my point. Whereas if you use a tool like Lien Law, you're going to be able to have better controls on everything and tracking, and you can tag things and use HubDoc and make this whole thing so much more automated than doing all these memorized transactions, because it's like receive the deposit, deposit to retainer, and then the payout. It's really easy.
So as a fast to go through it real quickly. Step one, retainer comes in, you get a deposit, you're receiving the retainer from the client. That was that $15,000, right?
Well, no, the 15, that's if you're doing trust accounting. For this, if it's retainer, in this case, it would be settlement on the case is your retainer because you're just getting the money into trust after the fact. PI attorney is a little bit
Oh,
different than
because
a
it's
regular.
contingency. It's
It's
contingency.
contingency, yeah.
Okay.
It's a little bit different. So you're
So
actually
trust,
getting
you'd
it.
have that at a time. Otherwise, it's just basically sign contract, good to go. Start incurring expenses. As the expenses are incurred, they're being tracked into the special account for the advanced client expenses. Basically, you can
Yep.
have subcategories. So that's because that's keeping track of them until it's decided whether you win or lose. If you win, right,
You
those
win.
get you basically take the settlement, helps pay those down, reduces the amount that the client would get, if I remember correctly, right? And
Right.
then from that point, the remaining amount, you'd have your fees, whatever, do the split that's appropriate, create your
Mhm.
journal entry at that point. I'm sorry, create the journal entry, and then the two checks are the checks to the client and to the law firm.
To the law firm, which basically you're taking the
Yeah.
money out of trust and moving it to operating. But
Yep.
Ann was asking, how do you track each case? I track it by client. In this particular case, it's tracked by the client or customer level, but the money when it's received, I put it into a trust account. And I just try to keep the one trust account. So you start to do the trust account and then sub trust accounts, you're going to hit over the 250 limit. So this is how you can actually
Good
group
point.
it, see it, get the zero out, and do it without using the app and do
Okay.
all the steps. And if you need help, I can help you. I mean, I'll work with you if you need help with doing the manual way.
Thank you for showing both ways on that. So
Yeah.
all right.
Desktop again.
QB Desktop, I had a mixed message about QB Desktop being able to process ACH payments. This is a preschool with monthly tuition and changes pretty often. Oh boy. I need a solution to be able to draft the balance due. I have set up my merchant account, but it appears that it will not just run the balance due, and I will not have to adjust the draft every month, that there is a change to each individual family, not only to the invoice, but to the draft itself. So to clarify before I drop my service that I currently use, does QB not have the ability to draft balance due on a monthly basis? This is for bank, not credit cards. Okay, so talking ACH, of course, is like it said. I don't know enough about the ACH payments for desktop. What I can say is Sarah Laidlaw has been struggling
Studying.
with. I'm sorry, what?
She's been studying this. Like she has
Big
like a
time,
chart
yeah,
and everything.
big time. And because the cost of the ACH went up dramatically, and she's actually
Mhm.
found some good alternatives. So this is one where I would probably suggest reaching out to her because she's really going to know this answer inside and out. Um, if that's okay. If you're not able to get good advice from there, you can reach back out and we can see what kind of research we could do. But I don't have a good answer for this one myself.
Sandy Petty's here. Since it's the first time she's hanging out with us.
Hello.
Hey, Sandy. Yeah, that's I don't know a lot about the desktop stuff that's going on with that, but I know the fees went up significantly. So I'm sure there's alternate ways.
Yeah, I mean, the I just don't know if it allows for like the balance remaining, but there are plenty of third-party applications
Yeah,
that can tie in and still pull the payments back in for you is going to be the key thing.
I think there's some good ones too. Aren't there some good ones out there that'll do like the recurring subscription?
I'm sure, but again, Sarah has been studying this stuff,
Yeah.
so not to pass it over, but
Yeah.
she knows it.
Yeah.
So
Okay. This was on my YouTube channel. And I had done a video a bazillion years ago. As you can see, my face isn't on there, about doing a refund like at Home Depot. You went out and bought materials and then you just put in the deposit and put it against the material. So a simple one. But I'm going to hand it to you, Mr. Project Guy, because they asked how to do it with projects.
not too difficult, actually. So I set this one up as well. The key thing to do this is, nope, nothing crazy on it. The key thing to this is actually basically making a deposit and having it come through the deposit window. So what I had done is I think I did, oh gosh, which one was it? Test project. I should remember this. Yeah, here we go. So what I had done is I set up the idea that we basically created and sold a toilet. Had markup onto this piece as well. So we'd have tax, all that kind of stuff for $600 basically, right?
Mhm.
With that in the system, that means we actually purchased a toilet from Lowe's. So if I come into my expenses here, we'll see this. Here's an expense. Shows the toilet came through. It is marked as billable. So that way we could tag it to basically to the customer of the project. That makes it where we can create the invoice and collect the money. We did all this to give the premise of, okay, if we've done that, well, let's say the toilet went bad for some reason and we needed to return it to the vendor.
It went bad because people were eating at Art of Sunny restaurant.
I wasn't going to say that, but I
You were
do
thinking
have
it.
to say yes. What has to happen is we have to have a deposit that comes back through. So I was making the assumption we're talking about money came back into the account. So when you're talking a refund or return, we're not saying store credit. We're saying money hit the bank account or credit card or whatever it would be.
Mm-hmm.
With that in mind, if you come all the way to the bottom here, this is where if you add to the bottom, the most important part of this, which I think is the real answer, track returns for customers.
Got it.
That's going to be the key thing. So by doing that, received from account like it would normally go, my description, the amount being $600 here, right? And then I've got the client tagged here as well.
So if you don't check that off, it's not going to affect the project?
If you
that little tiny box?
If you don't check that off, it's not going to hit the project, is correct.
Okay.
Because here it's saying that you
Yeah.
want to show a return that's coming back in.
Yep, that makes sense. That makes sense. I wish it was a little bigger.
So then what we had to do at that point was we still had this invoice that was outstanding for the customer, and the customer was mad. They wanted to get it paid back.
Mm-hmm.
So to finalize everything inside the project, everything else, we created a credit memo showing the product itself. Boom. So we could then take this and apply this against the outstanding invoice. So if I go receive payment,
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the right one. Wrong one. Another invoice. 600. How was it? My bad. So click off. It's trying to do the top one. I've got my 600, happy as a camper, save and close. Now, what this does, if I'm on my overview, we are not seeing inside of here the extra stuff itself.
Mm-hmm.
Refund of the toilets coming into this. So this is showing the expense and the toilet coming out of there. So I may have done something.
Yeah, where's the toilet?
So I'm thinking the way, because I didn't do a breakout on, I put it all to materials was actually my mistake on there. Because it actually should be, part of it would be to profit, which would be annoying. Having to try to break that part out, but it is showing that pull into there. So here's it still offsets the other part, but it is not exactly right. So that is basically, it's showing everything, pulling everything into it to get that handled. I hope that helps answer that question.
Yeah, I didn't even know. I've never even noticed that box before. Is that a new box, or has it been there for like 5 years?
Been there for a while. Yeah. It's definitely one that if you're looking for more information onto it, I'm happy to help kind of give you some more guidance on projects. I've been putting together a course type thing on projects as well, until the magical letter P got in the way. All right. So the next one is, and we're getting close on time, is there a way to book appointments with QuickBooks? Do you mean book with like customer support? If you had QuickBooks on your hands, you could. I think what you're actually saying is, can you book there isn't, let's see here. They don't have any kind of booking details inside of QuickBooks, of course. However, utilizing something like Zapier, that makes you happier, you could actually set up to where if you're using, I use Acuity, I can set up where people can book an appointment with me and charge them and have them pay me. And it would then create an invoice automatically in QuickBooks by zapping the information over. But it doesn't have any kind of a calendar system within QuickBooks itself.
No, I know I've answered a lot of questions on the community forum, and that usually comes up as a question that somebody's like doing a business where they're like doing home repairs or something, and they just want that kind of a robust calendaring thing. And that's usually an app for that.
Yeah, exactly. And then this is another one actually from that community is I'm moving everything from a PC to a Chromebook. I put all the files from the PC to a USB thumb drive. How do I import it from the drive to my new version? Actually, I think, boy, this is probably a Greg or Seth question better because they're a Google fights. But I believe the right answer is if you get everything into, hopefully you have a Google
You can't.
account.
Greg says you can't. It's a Chromebook, I guess.
Now, Greg, if you actually had a Google account, you stored everything to your cloud, you could then use that and pull things that way from your Google account. You'd just get pulled straight down, I think, right?
Isn't it like an iPad? It doesn't have you can't use desktop on QBD. You can't use desktop QBD on a Google Chromebook, maybe. I don't know. Because it's not really a full computer, right?
And it's actually showing QuickBooks Online right here. Tagged.
Oh, that doesn't mean anything. People don't.
Oh, okay. That's true. But I think what they're talking about is actually just their files. This is not a quick. I don't think it's actually a full QuickBooks question. I think they're talking any kind of documents.
And, they're trying to import it.
Yeah, I mean, they could theoretically use a thumb drive like that, but the better way is if they have a Google account. It was really cool when Seth got I think it was a Google Pixel phone. We were at dinner and he literally, while I was sitting there, had everything, all in his Google Drives, everything else, gets to the phone, opens it up, clicks a button, and it just takes everything and drops it right onto his phone. Super, super easy. Yeah, we got confirmation from the Google fight, Greg.
We have 2 Google guys. Oh, this is the other thing. And I know this is big and deep. We're talking about marketing, but I love this resource. It's right in the group right now. You can click on it. It talks about Google My Business, which you've talked about many times. And we have a whole course in there, right? In the files for Google My Business, or it's on your YouTube page.
Yeah, it's both places basically. But yeah, it's, as a reminder, we have our form where people can go in and ask questions, and they can even suggest topics. We never know how many people are really interested to learn more about this specific process, because we get a lot of people always asking, how do I find new clients? How do I find new clients? And this would definitely be one of those major pathways I would go, because it's a great way to get rock and rolling without spending money. So if people are interested to know more, please just let us know.
Yeah, listen, we can do a whole session on marketing. In fact, I was talking to one of our members today, and they were like, I'd love to know more about marketing. And, Google reviews, I had 0 because I had everything I dumped into my Find a Pro Advisor page, because that's how I was getting all my leads. And that kind of dried up. And you said, you don't have any Google reviews, you better get them. And then you told me how many you had, and I had to beat you. So now I have more than you. But the best way to do that is, honestly, go to the Intuit community, or anybody who reaches out to you and you take 5 or 10 minutes to help them. And they're like, what do I owe you? Just say, hey, give me a Google review. That's worth its weight in gold. And they usually go, really? That's all you want? And you just have them do that. And the more you get, the better it is, because Google starts to see you and see that you get that good Google review. And it explains that all here. And then keeping your business listings. Google My Business is one of the ways to do it, but also with keeping them up, like Angie's List and Yelp and all those other ones. So, and it's right in there. It's a pretty cool article. I thought it was a cool article.
So let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I'll just try to show the Parkway Business Solutions one. One of the cool things actually about setting up your Google My Business is you can actually, after you do this, go to Microsoft Bing, and they now have the ability, you can import all of your Google My Business stuff just like that. So now you have both places listed correctly to have everything exactly the way you need it. The importance of it on the short version of this is you want to make sure that you have your name, your address, your website, and your phone number all the same and consistent everywhere. When you set up your Google My Business, because I'm logged in, I can see additional details about what's going on with my site, how many clicks, impressions, so forth. I can see different reviews that we've had. I can see questions that have been asked inside of here as well. Where were those at? If I do posts, which I need to do another one. I told Linda to do it, but I don't do it myself.
I do posts every week. I just take my posts that I put on my blog and just do a mini version, and then have it learn more, and I link it back. So that way it can connect back. So there's Lots of ways to do it. You have to create a website on Google and you just create it. It's not a great website. You don't get a lot of formatting ability, but it's what it is. It's a way that Google can see you, because how does everybody come looking for you? Typically Google.
Well, and it feeds the beast with all the information, right?
Yes.
So you can get more details. The website that it'll populate, if you don't even have a website whatsoever, you can use this. And it basically is just super easy, takes you just a couple minutes to populate stuff in. And then these are like the different posts that I've created and added on. So they stay there for people to see. It's just more ways that if somebody's doing a search and they see the two things right there, which one are they going to pick basically? List out what it is that you do, have pictures.
Yeah, you got
They
nice
love
it
pictures.
likes inside and outside pictures too, right? It wants both the inside and the outside of your office, which I think I put them up on mine, but on my office is in my home. But yeah, I like the analytics too, which is nice.
Insights, how many people called, requested directions, that type of stuff. You can have it where you can receive text messages straight to your phone as well. Photo views, this is what I mean by pictures. Like, look at ours, 849 to 317.
Yeah, I always beat them too.
So
yeah, look at the difference. Photo quality, look at the difference there. I mean,
yeah. So it makes a big difference, definitely helps you grab more attention. And there we go. We actually made it through all
rapid fire with all those questions.
Was there any other questions in the group? I'm kind of covering up all my screens. Did I miss?
I know there was one today, and
like in the chat and all that stuff.
Oh, in the chat. No, it's just everybody's just here, and a lot of people that we've talked to. Sandy Petty, we've had Ann was here. We have a lot of people here watching, which is great. And like
Thank you guys.
just want to remind everybody too. There's a form you can fill out. And if you want to have a question you want to ask and you don't want to put it on the group, we can pull it in and just stick it in the group. So that way in this forum, so that you can get it asked and answer it. It's a guaranteed way, because I'm selecting them off the group. But if you have any, Michelle just asked if you could please go over the journal entry for cash payments.
I am getting to get you to where you need to be so we can do that real fast. It's kind of a last little bit. So let me
cash payments for what?
Yeah, give us a little more detail. So journal entry for cash payments, is this about law firms again, or
is it about the unapplied cash payment income account? Unapplied.
we don't do journal entries on unapplied cash payments. So journal entries as much as possible. I'm from the school that you try to do as few journal entries as you possibly can. As much as you can do, the transaction wise, through the forms, it's always better that way. So I would not recommend, it just won't tie out exactly the same. So if changing the date doesn't work, yes, if changing the date doesn't work, reach out and we can take a peek at it. We're pretty much, I'm always willing to try to spend some time with people. Sometimes it just needs to be at nighttime because we get really busy, especially with the magic letter P.
And the reason you want to use transactions over journal entries, and you have to use the journal entries when you're working with the law firm stuff because of where you have to do it. There's no way around it. Unfortunately, that's why I use an app and you don't have to bother with all that stuff. But the reason why is for reporting purposes. You start to pull in reports. You don't want to see a lot of journal entries. There's a lot of things that get lost with journal entries that you can get better. You can get better insights in your business by using the actual transactions. And that's the way you should go.
So this invoice and received payments report is a great way to go through and try to find all of those unapplied payments if you run into that, and you can just kind of click and go back, click and go back. It's a really clean way to find those details, of course.
Absolutely. That's a good way because absolutely. And Connie Mitchell Clark said, thank you. I haven't dug into the Google site stuff. It takes a while to fill it all out. And that's why if you want to go on the YouTube channel or in our group with the files, follow it. It's just follow the steps and you'll be so happy because it's just going to it makes a difference. I mean, it really does make a difference.
Without it claiming your business, it's really it's really hard to populate up, and you want to be able to show up on the maps and have people find your number and all that stuff. And it's free. It's free.
It's free. And Larry DeForest wants to know, why does it indicate on your taskbar that you need to restart your computer? That's because he has a PC. He has a PC.
Because Microsoft keeps updating everything 12 bazillion times. And if you look at how many things I have open underneath here as well, I don't want to restart my computer. It's going to take 15 minutes to do it. So, but thank you for noticing. If I was like Greg's even better with it. So cool. Well, on that note, Linda, that's another week. We appreciate everybody jumping in.
Yeah.
Again, we'll put a post up for that form. If you guys are liking how these are being done, we love answering the questions. It's what we've always talked about. Get a faster computer.
Get a Mac. You should say get a Mac.
You guys are awesome. I'll be telling my business partner I've been told I need a new computer. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
On that note, here's wishing everybody a very successful week. Thanks, guys.
Bye.